Time to find some studs. There's the center of where we want the TV. And there's the bottom of where that bracket's going to go. I just put a little piece of masking tape here. You probably can't see it very well, but that's all right. I look down here and I see I've got a couple plugs there. And more than likely, there's going to be a stud. Where do you suppose there's going to be a stud? Probably going to be one right there, huh? That's the first thing I'm going to check. And then there's probably another stud right on that edge, I'm guessing. I haven't even measured it out yet. But I kind of think that might be the case. All right? Because 16-inch centers, if I hold my tape, and see this red mark on my tape? On a tape measure, incidentally, every 16 inches you're going to see the number is going to be red. If you didn't remember that, if you've never known that before, now you do. Because lots of times, everything's 16 inch on center, and when framers frame a wall, they pull their tapes every 16 inches and they mark it, mark it, mark it. Way easier to find those marks that way, okay? If you didn't think of anything and remember anything about this, you just learned how to read a tape measure where your 16-inch centers are, didn't you? Okay, so I've got a good idea. There's a stud right there. Hear that? That sounds kind of hollow. And that sounds a little bit higher pitched. Hollow. Higher pitch, solid. Higher pitch, solid. That's kind of hollow right in there. High, hollow. See? But I'm still gonna probe around. I'm gonna undo this, and instantly, before I do that, I'm gonna shut the power off here because I'm gonna be working on this plug after a while anyway. So that's one thing I'm going to do, is locate these studs. Now there's another way you can locate those studs too. You remember? Take your trusty stud finder and you can check that way too and see if there's studs there, okay? Because the last thing I want to do is get up high on the wall and start marking up the walls and then find out I'm doing it in the wrong space, okay? I don't have to show you how to use this stud finder, do I? You know, I've got some videos on that. And the one thing I would stress on your stud finder, you don't use that very often. So what happens is the battery usually goes dead after a while. And if you got a bum battery like I do right now, see, it's not coming on, and every once in a while, okay, now I got it to work. And I know there's a stud right in there, but I've got to clear it and go this way. And see, it's not really working properly. There it goes. It's not working all the way because the battery's not a fresh battery. So if you ever have a problem with that on your stud finder, make sure you put in a new battery, because the last thing you want is for you to think that there's a stud in a certain point on a wall and then mark that stud, or think that, okay, I've got a blank wall cavity, so I'm going to cut in a light switch there, and you cut in, son of a gun, there's a stud right in your way because your stud finder didn't really find it properly because the battery was low. Okay, that's one important thing you've got to remember about a stud finder. Now the good thing about this wall bracket is when I put this up there, I can hide some mistakes. If I think the stud is right there and I poked a hole in there and oh, it's over here a little bit, well, I may have to slide this over a little bit, but I've got a lot more leeway to find the stud here if I'm measuring and trying to find the stud in this location behind this bracket, because if I make a mistake, this bracket's going to cover it up, right? But if you have a small TV with just one bracket assembly that just gets bolted to one stud, you got to be on. So before I go any further, I've got to turn the power off because I want to double check to see where these studs are. Got my little wire tester here, and I know this power's on. And I look at that, move this around a little bit, and I got an orange light here, okay? Sometimes if you put this in, like right there, I got it pushed in, nothing happens. If I just move this around a little bit, then the light will go on. Okay, so make sure, if you ever use a tester and you put it in the first time and nothing's happening, wiggle it around a little bit because you want to make sure that you get the right circuit breaker when you want to shut this power off. I'm pretty sure I got the right breaker. Now I can use my tester again, wiggle that up and down, nothing's happening. You don't have to have one of these testers. You could plug a lamp in there. Just make sure the lamp works before you plug it in there. Make sure that it's not attached to a light switch to where the light switch is off and you plug it in there and maybe the top of the plug is hot all the time and the bottom is connected to a light switch. You plug it in there and then you forget and you put it in down where the light switch is connected and the light switch is turned off and you come back down here and the light's off. You know what I mean? So be careful with that. And then also you can plug in a radio there. You can plug in an electric drill that has an extension cord on it. Anything like that, a drop light, whatever. Last thing you want is just to make an assumption and not check it out properly, because you don't want to start working on that plug with it being hot. You learned anything so far? I think you have. All right, now I'm gonna probe around, and I'm pretty sure there's a stud right there. Now I probably could have taken the cable out. This is for the cable TV. And I could have taken that out and poked in that way, and then I wouldn't have had to turn the breaker off. You know, but I had to find that out anyways, because eventually I got to tap into this plug to run power up there, right? But for right now, I'm just going to poke in behind the sheetrock at an angle like this. I've got a 16 penny nail here, and I should be able to hit a stud if it's in there. There it is. Now I got to pull it out. Try it again. See that? Right there. If you got any questions, you can try over here. Generally, if you hit a stud there, though, there's not going to be a stud right there, right? See that? You put the nail in all the way, and there's nothing there. Okay? Now I measured over. I pulled this out. This is a telephone, so you just got to be real careful with that. And from center to center, 16 is over there. So another stud should be there if this wall was laid out 16-inch centers. And most walls are. It's very seldom do you see 24-inch centers, but don't make any assumptions because I'm not at your place. So I don't want to make an assumption and tell you wrong. That's why you got to probe on your own. See if we can find this one. There it is. Pull that back out. You got any questions? Check over here. See why I got to have the cover plate off? Because I'm doing all this on the back side. And I can put the cover plate back on there. No marks at all, right? Look at that. Push it all the way in. That nail's all the way back in there. Okay, so I know there's no stud there. So I'm making the assumption that the rest of the wall is on 16-inch centers. Okay, so I can measure over on that for the next one if I didn't have a stud finder, right? My stud finder's kind of on the blink, but I'm gonna mark over because I've got to go that way a little bit because the TV's not perfectly straight up and down from here. Do you remember? It's over to the right a little bit further. But at least I've done my homework here. And if I don't take this cover plate off, which I don't think I'm going to right now, but I know that the stud is 1.5 inches thick. Okay, so 3/4 of an inch is where the center of that is, right? And 3/4 of an inch over from the edge of this box, not from the edge of the cover plate. Because lots of times the cover plate sticks over, you know, 1/4 inch or so. I want to try to get the center of those studs so that when I transfer it up the wall, I'm going to be really super close to the center. Then I'll have to do some more probing up there. Okay? You can do it. I know you can. I've got a mark up here where the center of that TV is. If I measure over from where I know this stud is, just first off, I'm going to make the assumption, I haven't checked it out yet, but I've got a pretty good idea there's going to be a stud right there. If I stand there and look at that and go straight up here, you know, that is almost perfectly in line with the center of the TV. Okay, so I don't know if that's such a good thing or not. Let's just take a look. And we've got to go through a little thought process here, see what we can do. That's the center of the TV. Okay? Now, you might think, oh, okay, just put the bracket right in the center like that. Well, I can't do that, can I? Because it's only 8 inches from here over. So, that means I'm going to have my bracket assembly like from there to the right, because that's where the holes are, right? Or I'm going to have to come this way. And once I have this, if I have it over here, let's say, remember the arm up here will swivel over to a little bit, and the TV, the center of the TV could be about right there. Then I'll have to slide on the back side of the TV over, all the way over, so that I can take the TV and scoot it that way, right? I would rather do that because going that way is where the dining room is. So see, if I was like right here, I could still make the middle of the TV because the swivel would be slid over a little bit. I could take this arm that goes on here, flip it over this way, and then push it over even further. But remember, if I do that, what's going to happen? The TV is going to be about here. When you come walking in from the main door, you're going to see this bracket assembly sticking out to the right side of the TV. I don't want that, do I? That's why you got to think about your project. Because if I have it over here, this may pooch out beyond the TV, but yet I don't think it's going to. But even if it does, I really don't have much choice with that. But there's a door over here, a back door. So it's only about 5 or 6 feet away from this edge. So when people come walking in and they see the nice TV, they're not going to see this bracket assembly sticking out beyond it. You follow? So I think that's what I'm going to have to do. But before I do that, I'm just going to kind of look at the whole assembly on the back side of the TV to convince myself this is where I want to put it.